Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. I just read something amazing. An astrologer looked at Prabhupada's chart, and the astrologer said he doesn't write, Prabhupada does not write with ink, he writes with fire. And his writing destroys the ignorance of the world. And he looked at Prabhupada's chart and he said, this chart is perfect. No one has a chart like this. Okay, let me just do something with the light here. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Okay. Shnabadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Shaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvise Sasunyavadi Paschatya Satarine Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. All right. So, my keyboard stand is... We did some recording, if I'm late. Maybe you can't be a bona fide devotee. That's a joke. Devotees are punctual. Supposed to be. Yesterday, we talked about something yesterday that's important for you, but I don't remember what it was. I was thinking of it. I was just thinking when I was coming down here. There was something I wanted to relate to you. But anyway, I think what we'll do today is we'll just start. Panchakalpadurvyascha kripasinubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. We'll just start reading. If I start talking, I could talk for the next hour and a half, right? And we won't even read anything. Okay, so we are reading. You remember we had ended up reading about your rasa, our rasa, my rasa, your rasa, with Krishna being fixed. And being satisfied. Everyone's satisfied with their rasa, and nobody's thinking, how come I have to be a tree and you can be a cow? Or how come I have to be a cow and you can be a cowherd boy? It's not fair. I don't like it. And sometimes, there's this thought that goes through the mind of so many of us when we contemplate, like, how did God get to be God? I mean, who chose that? And why did I get to be God? I don't know. It's not fair. Like, how did he get to be God? Or how did someone get to be Mother Yashoda? And why not me? It doesn't seem like this is fair. Like, I have to talk to someone about this. And why did I have to end up in the material world and others never come here? So these are all material ways of thinking, and in the last week or so of classes, maybe 2 weeks, we've been trying to get this idea across that when you're conceptualizing spiritual life in the spiritual world, absolutely, there's a huge obstacle is relating everything to this world. Now, in a sense, you can relate it to this world because this world's a perverted reflection. So there are people, there are families, there are homes, all of that. But the perverted reflection part is the difficulty, because the perverted reflection means, as I said, you see somebody in a shadow and you don't see their face, so you don't really know what they look like. You just have a general idea. And so we're looking at the shadow, we're thinking, okay, there's a shadow, there's a person there, I don't know what they look like. So yeah, there's people in the spiritual world, it's the shadow. But that's all I see is the shadow, and I'm trying to understand the reality through the shadow. And so we're always trying to figure things out through the shadow, and it doesn't work. And so this was another example. A devotee was asking, he was questioning, well, like, what if you have a rasa, but you want another rasa? And Prabhupada saying, well, if it's your rasa, if that's your relationship with Krishna, it's your relationship with Krishna, so it's perfect. He said, but what if you want to change? And Prabhupada said, why would you want to change? Like Prabhupada was saying, what's wrong with you? It's not something material, like, I'm tired of this car, I'm going to get a new car. I'm tired of this wife, I'll get a new wife. Tired of this city, getting out of this town, I'm fed up with this city. I'm fed up with this rasa. I've had it for half an eternity. I'm so over this rasa, I need to move on. Like we say, if you've done something a lot and you've done it so much, there's no enjoyment. In America, we'll say, I don't know, in other countries, we'll say, I'm so over that. So over that means I've done it. Been there, done that. We say, I've been there, done that. So it's not like, Sakyaras, yeah, I've been there, done that. I'm so over Sakyaras. Now I'm into Madhurya. So over Sakya. Sakya is so 80s. Now I'm into Madhurya. It's not like that. That's all material thinking. Isn't it? You understand, right? Because we do that all the time in the material world. Right? Sometimes we say old school Krishna consciousness, the way we used to preach. But there's some things which are eternal, so they're never old school. So that was what we read yesterday. And now today we have part 2. Dun, 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 dun. Rasa is fixed, part 2. So this is another conversation on the same topic. And this conversation took place in September 1968 in San Francisco. What's interesting about these older conversations is that devotees are asking elevated questions. It doesn't sound like they're brand new devotees. Sakya Prema! Sakya Prema, do you have Sakya? Sakya Prema is very funny. One time he dropped us off. He took us from one place to another, and when he dropped us off, he said, if there's anything I can do for you, please don't call me. Yeah, so Sakya is a real transcendental clown. Always was and always will be. Yeah, so definitely Sakya is a cowherd boy, because cowherd boys like to have fun. Okay, so here's the question. Upendra, Swamiji, if our rasa with Krishna is eternal, and we want to have the rasa of lover with Krishna, is it possible to change? If our rasa is like father to son, we can never become lover. Prabhupada, no. You have got eternal relationship with Krishna. That cannot be changed. You're constitutionally in a position, in a certain position. Either you have got, no, he stopped saying it. Yeah, I think he was saying either you have it or you don't. It's either, if you're in Sakya Ras, you're not in Madhurya. You don't graduate to the Madhurya Ras later. But every relationship is spiritual and nice. If you have got that inclination that you want to be Krishna's lover, then that means originally you are already in relationship with Krishna in that stage. In other words, that rasa is there dormant. That will be revealed when you are in its perfectional stage. Yes. So we had mentioned yesterday that how do you know what your rasa is? When will you know? What do you have to do to know, and so forth? And Prabhupada is saying here, and Shastra says it'll be revealed. A lot of times, when people would ask these questions, especially young devotees, 1968, Prabhupada would say, "Don't worry about it now," because right now, when you're a young devotee, you just have to worry about getting your rounds done and following the 4 principles every day, and basically trying to get out of bed before the sun gets out of bed. So why are you worrying about your rasa? And that the example Prabhupada gave, a man is in the hospital. Let's say he's an athlete, but he's really sick. And he's in the hospital, and he's thinking, when I'm going to go run, 4-minute mile. He can't even walk to the bathroom on his own. So, take care of your business now, what's right in front of you. So that's one answer Prabhupada would give. The other answer he would give, and I think that came up yesterday, was it'll be revealed in your purified state. And then we had mentioned that the stage before bhava is called asakti. And asakti then becomes bhava, and bhava is the preliminary state of love of God. Bhava means ecstasy in Sanskrit. Asakti means your attraction to Krishna becomes very strong. So it's said when you're on the stage of asakti, you'll have an extremely strong inclination for a particular rasa, and that inclination may come prior to that, and so you may think, I'm in this particular rasa. But in asakti, it'll be clear, and in bhava, you will enter that rasa. Then the question comes, well, what if before asakti I'm feeling inclination for a certain rasa? Is that wrong? Is that bad? Not necessarily. It may not be that rasa, actually. There could be some material tinge that's influencing you to feel that way. I have to show you my t-shirt, but it's backwards. It says spiritual, what does it say? It says spiritual revolutionary. Because you're wondering, why am I wearing a t-shirt? Well, the other reason I'm wearing a t-shirt is after I give class, my wife said, you have to take out all the recycle bins. So I thought, well, I have to go Krishna West today to do some dirty work. So, it's nice being married. You get to do humble service. I wash a lot of dishes. If I were with you, you wouldn't let me wash dishes. So here I get to practice more humility. I get to take out trash, all kinds of things. But if I'm with you, you would never let me do that. So I can never be humble when I'm with you. I can only be humble when I'm home. So, Hare Krishna. So inclination for a certain rasa, cultivating a certain rasa, that's called raganuga bhakti. Will it come up before? Yeah, it may come up before. You want to hear something interesting? I don't know if you know this. You may have heard this, that in previous times, when you would meet the Guru would give you the holy name, and he would give you a rasa. He said, so, seems your rasa is in Sakya. And so, he didn't really know, you didn't really know, but it seemed, and you might be thinking, well, how could you do that, give the rasa when they were such young devotees? And it actually wasn't necessarily declaring that that's your rasa, but he was saying practice and see if this works for you. It was actually a practice, okay? We think you're in Sakya, so you can practice that in your, like when you're chanting, you can think, I'm a cowherd boy or something. It was done as a practice, not as a realization, but then it was misused. And after the time of Bhaktivinoda, Bhaktisiddhanta, he no longer did that. And then Prabhupada, following in his footsteps also, did not give anyone a rasa to practice at the time of initiation. And then many, many times, as we have been reading here, Prabhupada said, it will be revealed. And if you want it revealed faster, chant more rounds, chant more purely, read more, do everything right. If you're impatient for your rasa, then, speed up the process, especially the quality. It'll be revealed that way. Yeah, this is what Prabhupada said. Okay, now, I'm kind of following, but I didn't see any comments. Yeah. Better be married than a hypocrite sannyasi. Yeah. As I always say, I don't know how the sannyasis stay humble. Because marriage seems the only way you can really do it. Vrindavan Leela, thank you for your donation. It really helps. We have a few devotees here. We're not that watch our class of Vrindavan Leela, Pandora Henson. She's in Alachua, and then Radha Priya's in Alachua, and Parker's in Gainesville. So we actually have 3 local devotees, maybe more that I don't know. Occasionally, we have some locals. Okay, so let's read the next one. I think it's similar from what I remember. This is called Hari. Wait. I named this wrong. Something about something and frustration in the spiritual world. This is 1969. Devotee. Swamiji. Swamiji. They used to call Prabhupada Swamiji. If all things here are a reflection of what is perfect in the spiritual world, then, it's hate. Shouldn't hate and frustration and despair and prejudice also appear in the spiritual world? So this also was asked the other day by Krishna Karshini. So he's making a list here. Hate, frustration, despair, and prejudice. And Prabhupada's answer, yes, they're all there. He wasn't expecting that answer. Not in 1969. And the devotee just had a heart attack. Does it? And then he fell over. And that's it. He left his body, went back to Godhead. He was so shocked. And Prabhupada, yes, devotee. Then aren't they bad? And the devotee's completely confused. This is 1969. Because he understood that nothing bad exists in the spiritual world. And according to him, hate, frustration, prejudice, what else? Despair, they're all bad. Prabhupada. But that frustration has no disappointment. Prabhupada's laughing. That is the beauty, just like Lord Chaitanya is manifesting that spiritual frustration. Quote, "Oh Krishna, I could not see you." He's jumping on the sea in frustration. But that frustration is the highest perfection of love. Yes, everything is there, but without inebriety. You are a very intelligent boy. I thank you. Yes, yes. He's saying, I thank you. He's thanking him for this question. And why is Prabhupada thanking him for this question? Because this question is engaging Prabhupada in explaining the philosophy more deeply. And one time, Govinda Dasya is early in the movement, asked Prabhupada about separation. And Prabhupada he just really, really appreciated the question because I think he was experiencing ecstasy answering it. And it's like, thank you for this question. Your question is putting me in ecstasy. And it said that Sukadev Goswami, when he spoke Bhagavatam, he never spoke about Radha because there would be too much ecstasy and he wouldn't be able to speak, and he wouldn't be able to recite the whole Bhagavatam. So sometimes you'll see that when a speaker is asked a question, I think there's a place in Bhagavatam, I can't remember. The speaker was asked a question, and for a moment he was just thinking of the answer, thinking of Krishna, and then there was ecstasy. So sometimes questions have amazing power to invoke ecstasy in the speaker, and then if it invokes it in the speaker, it invokes it in the audience. So that's my understanding of Prabhupada thanking him for the question. You were a very, very intelligent boy. I thank you. Yes, yes. This is frustration, but not this frustration. Yes, that frustration. Okay. Is there frustration in the spiritual world? The answer is not this frustration, that frustration. And what is that frustration that Prabhupada is referring to? He gave the example of Mahaprabhu. Where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? And he's like ran into the ocean. Where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? In ecstasy. That frustration. I want to see Krishna. Or we have this Leela, Mahaprabhu's in ecstasy, and then the devotees wake him up. And he said, why did you wake me up? I was with Krishna and the cowherd boys. Why did you bring me here? That frustration. That frustration, I mean to say, enriches one's eagerness of love for Krishna. Everything is there, but without inebriety. Everything is there. Yes. Now see. Vishnu, Of course, in Vaikuntha Jagat, there is no violence. But Vishnu is taking the symbol of violence. Now, Shivaram Swami in one of his books has explained, I think it's, what is the name of that book? I don't have it here. Oh yeah, there it is. Shuddha Bhakti Chintamani. That book is amazing. You should read it if you can get it. It might, if you have the Veda base, his book's around the Veda base. That book kind of details, it's kind of like everything that he went into in depth in studying philosophically about Krishna consciousness. Just getting really into it, he put in that book, kind of analyzing in depth. So, what was I going to say? I have to read the last thing. He said, so Prabhupada's saying, of course, Vaikuntha Jagat, there's no violence, but he was explaining that in order to enhance the Leela, Yogamaya creates, I don't exactly know how she does this, but she creates a kamsa, like a temporary kamsa. And Krishna periodically, in the spiritual world, goes to Mathura and has a good bout with kamsa and destroys this kind of yoga-mayic illusory kamsa just to create some excitement in the spiritual world. When I was young, growing up 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, it was quite common that my friends and I used to wrestle or mock fight or wrestle or seriously fight. I mean, it was just like, that's what boys do. They fight. So, Krishna likes to fight. That's why we like to fight. So that's interesting, right? Now, before I read this, I was told, when Prabhupada was asked, are there demons in the spiritual world? He said, no, but there are rumors of demons. So this, if we put these two ideas together, it's kind of interesting. So in this book, Shuddha Bhakti Chintamani, there's that description of some kind of illusory Kamsa. So did Krishna actually kill Kamsa? Well, not really, but sort of, kind of. Something happened. It looked like it. So maybe that's what Prabhupada meant by rumors. Well, he went to Mathura and, but there's no Kamsa to kill, but there was temporarily. But where's that Kamsa now? So what did Krishna do? Well, I heard he killed Kamsa. Really? But there's no Kamsa. It's like rumors. Just to keep things exciting. And you might be thinking, well, isn't it already exciting enough in the spiritual world? Yeah, but you can always make it more exciting. So that's in terms of violence in the spiritual world. But Vishnu is taking the symbol of violence. Otherwise, what is the meaning of the disc and club? So when he wants to be violent, he comes here as Nrsimhamurti, laughter. And he sends some of his devotees to play violence. So now, Prabhupada, because the devotees saying, are there these, what we would consider bad things happening in the spiritual world? Could they be there? And he didn't. This devotee didn't list violence. So Prabhupada saying, yes, also violence. Krishna likes to fight. Krishna likes to fight. Look at what Krishna likes to do. He likes to fight. And you have a kid. You would not teach the kid to do what Krishna likes to do. Krishna likes to fight. He likes to steal, and he likes to engage with the wives of married men. You wouldn't tell your little boy, when you grow up, I want you to steal, lie, and dance with the wives of married men. And while you're growing up, you can steal butter and yogurt and pass urine on people's floor if they bother you. You wouldn't tell them to do that. So this is how we understand the transcendental nature of the spiritual world. Krishna's stealing is not like our stealing. Krishna's dancing with others' wives is not like ours. Krishna's fighting is not like ours. And if you're fortunate enough to be able to fight with Krishna, the result of Krishna killing you is very good. So It's a win-win. Whenever you engage with Krishna, always win-win. That we read yesterday, in the class yesterday we were talking about surrender and all the fears surrounding surrender, and then we talked about a verse from Bhagavatam where Putana got the position of a mother, and this verse in Bhagavatam says, well, who else should I surrender to? Because you come to kill Krishna and he lets you become his mother eternally or go into that Vatsalya rasa eternally. So who else should I surrender to? Who else is going to reward me for trying to kill them? Who could be more merciful? So Krishna comes, he kills Hiranyakashipu. Good for Hiranyakashipu. But Hiranyakashipu, as we know, he expanded from Jai or Vijay, one or the other. Anyway, Krishna likes to fight. And as Prabhupada said, there's so many people in this world that like to fight. Professional wrestlers, boxers, mixed martial arts, karate, this and that, military men. There's so many people like to fight. Where did that propensity come from? So Krishna's fighting is beautiful. And then Prabhupada said, Krishna came as a boar. A boar is a big pig. And big, if you've seen them, they're pretty ugly. Not pretty ugly, they're really ugly. And Prabhupada said, this boar, Krishna's boar, he was beautiful. Can you imagine a beautiful boar? I mean, what does a beautiful boar look like? So Krishna's anger is beautiful. Krishna's dancing with other men's wives is beautiful. His incarnation as a boar is beautiful. His stealing is beautiful. Everything he does is beautiful. That's the point. So when we say all these things are in the spiritual world, say yes, they're all there and they're all beautiful. And when you do them here, they're all ugly. That's the difference. Minor detail, right? That's the difference. Okay, let's continue reading. And he sends some of his devotees to play violence. That is Hiranyakashipu. Because there the devotees are so much in accord with Krishna and Vishnu, there's no question of disagreement. Who's he going to fight there? Krishna sometimes, sometimes, we hear, did we leave the spiritual world or did we come from somewhere else? And how could we leave the spiritual world? Everything's perfect. Well, Krishna's in the spiritual world and he's getting bored and he wants to fight. So even Krishna leaves the spiritual world to come down. That's interesting, isn't it? It's getting boring up here. There's nobody to fight. I can't fight with my devotees. What am I going to do? I have to go down there and fight. That's really interesting. Krishna's so interesting, don't try to figure him out. You won't be able to. You can try. Prabhupada said, there's a verse, Queen Kunti. Queen Kunti said, even the sages, they're trying to understand you. They're having a hard time. So what to speak of us? We're just women, simple, not that intelligent, or whatever she said. Simple women, how can we understand you? Even these big philosophers. And Prabhupada said, you'll never understand Krishna. Don't even try. I mean, you try, but you don't try, if you know what I mean. Because there the devotees are so much in accord with Krishna and Vishnu, there is no question of disagreement. But violence is when this disagreement, atheist. Therefore, sometimes a devotee is deputed in this world to play as an atheist. And Krishna comes to kill him, to teach these people that if you become atheist, then here is disc and club for you. So Vishnu has 4 weapons. 2 for the devotees, conch and lotus, and disc and club for the non-devotees. What do you want to be? Devotee or non-devotee? That's a good way of putting it. Every time you think of going into Maya, think of the disc and club on your head. Oh, well, the disc is not in your head, it's through your neck. Of course, Krishna's not going to harm his devotee, but interesting example. To teach these people that if you become atheist, then there is disc and club for you, but it is not possible to be displayed in the Vaikuntha. Otherwise, if there is no the propensity of violence, in other words, there's no propensity of violence there. Just like there is sometimes mock fight. A father is fighting in mock with a child, a small child, and he's become defeated, but there is pleasure. So, Anandamaya Vyasat, Vedanta Sutra 1.1.12. The Lord is joyful. So there is joy in fighting also sometimes. So your question, that everything is there, that is a fact. Everything is there. Otherwise, if everything is not there, they cannot be manifested here because it is a reflection. Here is a reflection. Of course, this discovery is by the Vaishnava, Gauriya Vaishnava. Just like the love between Radha and Krishna, it is called Parakiya. They are not married, husband and wife, but Radharani appears to be wife of some other gentleman. But Krishna from childhood, they were friends. So Radharani could not forget Krishna. She used to come to Krishna and stand like that. So, in other words, Prabhupada's saying, he's saying all these apparently illegal, illicit, horrible things happen in the spiritual world. Well, they would be illegal and illicit here. Kind of the culmination of what seems to be illicit is Krishna's relationship with Radharani, because they meet every day or twice a day. And she's apparently married. So, for those who are not devotees, this is a big hurdle to cross over in Krishna consciousness. And for those who have a very moral upbringing, this is a big hurdle to cross over. So we have to understand carefully that love in its perfection is Radha and Krishna. Whether she's married or not, he has to take her away from her husband or not. All of that, we understand, is there just to enhance the relationship. That's the only reason it's there. Just like the question comes, why is Krishna stealing butter? There's like tons of butter and yogurt in his house, and he's going to the neighbors and he's stealing. And the answer is, if you steal something, it's like it has more value. It's like stolen butter tastes better than butter from my house. That's why he steals it. Of course, he steals it to engage in having fun with the gopis because they enjoy that. So that's the other reason he steals it. So, God's a thief, but why is he a thief? Because it increases the love of his devotees when he steals. And plus, he likes to steal. So, there's this idea, why did God do this? And our answer is because he wanted to. And a lot of people don't like that answer. Well, that doesn't sound right. Why would he want to do that? Because he wanted to. But he shouldn't do that. It's not moral. It's not right. Oh, you're saying God can do something immoral and not right? Well, it seems like it's not right. Yeah, to you. And you know better than him. So this kind of thinking is like, don't go there. Why does Krishna do that? That doesn't seem right. Okay, when you go back to Godhead, you can talk to him about it, all right? You can tell him, give him a piece of your mind. Krishna, you shouldn't dance with other men's wives. It's not really right. And I got to talk to you about the stealing thing. It was like, it's you're setting a bad example for the kids. You're stealing, You can take it up with him then. Of course, by the time you get there, you'll understand that all those things are the reality of stealing, the perfect stealing. Does Krishna dance with other men's wives? Of course he does. It's the perfection of love. Does he steal? Yeah, it's the perfection of stealing. Does he fight? Yeah, it's the perfection of fighting. Okay. So Radharani could not forget Krishna. She used to come to Krishna and stand like that. That's all. And he was playing. Kishore, Kishori. They were boy and girl. But there is no inebriety. Just like here, boy and girls mix, and there are so many abominable things, distressful, which is binding their material bondage. So that friendship between boy and girl is there, but without inebriety. Krishna had so many gopis, girlfriend, but there was no contraceptive pills, laughter. That is the beauty. Here, the so-called love is lust, and there, that is the highest. Whoops. Excuse me. The same thing, perverted, I think he means perverted, a perverted reflection. Just like in the original tree, the topmost part has come down to the down. In other words, if a tree is being reflected in the water, it's backwards. Srila Prabhupada is saying this world is backwards. Similarly, in the spiritual world, the highest, topmost level of love, parakiya means love outside of marriage. Parake means love, not by marriage, by friendship. And that is there. That's the highest thing. Love outside of marriage. That's the highest thing there. But there is no such inebriety. It is pure. So perverted means the topmost thing has come down to the lowest. Here, this parakiya, loving others' wives or husband, is most abominable. Adultery, not allowed by society, not allowed by the state. But the tendency is there. Even one is married, he wants to love another's wife. Or if the girl is married, she wants to love another husband. Why? That is there, but without okay, I'm having such a hard time staying chaste to my wife. I'm always looking at other women. It's Krishna's fault because he has that propensity. I have the propensity. What can I do? It's his fault. Don't blame me. Blame him. He's doing it there, and that's why I'm doing it here. Not exactly like that. Not exactly. And of course, the point Prabhupada's making is that parakiya, the love of a man for another woman who is married, is the highest thing in the spiritual world. Go put your head around that for a while. Stealing other men's wives is the highest thing because Krishna's doing it. Doing that here is the lowest thing. But don't blame Krishna for that propensity. Every man has that propensity. Sorry to tell you, ladies, every man has that propensity unless they're very Krishna conscious. So everything is there, but here that thing is reflected pervertedly, therefore misunderstood. There are so many other corollaries, you see, but you must know everything, that without being in the absolute truth, there cannot be relative manifestation. The world is relative manifestation, so these things are not to be understood in the beginning, but as the questions came, we discussed something. But you must know, as the Vedanta Sutra says, Janmadyasya Daha. Everything is emanated from the Absolute. That is the fountainhead of everything. We cannot manufacture anything. It is not possible. But this is shadow, and that is reality. And in the shadow, just like the photograph, you find that everything in detail of your beautiful face in the photograph. But that is not reality. That's all. So you'll find everything in details. Or you can understand the actual photograph, actual idea, actual notion of the spiritual world by scrutinizingly studying this world and just flipping it around. Study this world and flip it around. Then you'll understand. The Mayavadi says, Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. Brahman, the absolute truth, is real truth, and this world is mithya. Mithya means false. Then mithya means it is a reflection or shadow. Mithya does not mean that it has no existence. The shadow is also existence. Therefore, Vaishnava philosophers say that mithya means temporary. Now you have got this body. This is temporary. That's the real understanding. And if I say it is mithya, then if I kill you, then why am I punished? I can say, oh, it is mithya, it is false. So what is their fault? No, it is not mithya, it is temporary. You know, Prabhupada's saying, there's these philosophers saying, the only thing real is Brahman and everything is false. And so Prabhupada's playing with this idea. Oh, so everything's false, I'll kill you, no problem, because you were false. We just lost something false. We lost something not real. If it's not real, why do we need it? We'll just kill you. So Prabhupada's saying, it is mithya, it is false. What is their fault? You say it's false. No, it is not mithya, it's temporary. So we say, it's not false, it exists, but it's not eternal. So we can't say it's an illusion. No, your body's not an illusion, your body's there. If you hurt yourself, it hurts. It's not false. You want to hear a funny story? This devotee, Gurudas, told this story. Somehow the devotees ended up staying in an ashram temporarily, it seems. And there were some Mayavadis there. Or it was a Mayavadi ashram. And it was cold. And so they're talking, everything is one, blah, blah, blah. And so Gurudas was saying, look, can I have your blanket? It's cold, and I'll give you a thread. And because there's no difference, because everything's one, a piece of thread from the blanket, and the blanket is the same, it's all one. And he said, no, I can't give you the blanket, I'll be cold. But it's all one. There's no difference between the thread and a blanket. So when you bring that philosophy down to the practical level, everything is one. Okay, great. Can I become one with your money? Can you just hand it over because your money is my money, it's our money, it's all one money. So what's the problem? Give me your money. Like that. And some Sankirtan devotees used to do that with these impersonalists. It's all one. He said, well, then give me all your money because it's all one. And sometimes they'd actually do it to stay true to their philosophy. Funny and foolish. Because it is reflection of the reality, therefore it cannot be mithya. Then the reality becomes mithya. Mithya means not fact. The real explanation is that this is a shadow. Shadow, but the reality is in the spiritual world, and that is indicated in the Vedanta Sutra. Janmadyasya yataha. Srimad Bhagavatam 111, the fountainhead of all emanation. That is the absolute truth. So the first verse of Vedanta Sutra says, Janmadyasya yataha. The first line of Bhagavatam says, Janmadyasya yataha. Janmadyasya yataha. And it's explained, Bhagavatam is an explanation, a commentary on Vedanta. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta lectured for 3 months on the first verse of Bhagavatam. Why not? Okay. Now, doesn't look like anyone has anything to say, any questions or comments. That being the case, we can read. I just want to check if, no, occasionally. In Madhurashtakam, even Krishna's spit is described as sweet. So you do have, sometimes Facebook, it shoots the messages down in real time, and sometimes it doesn't. His urine is incredible. Yeah, amazing. Gonna write a song about that, Sakya? His spit is sweet, his urine is sweet, we won't say it, is sweet. Does he even have urine? That's another question. Okay, Sakya Ras, your homework for today is to confirm whether or not, no, we don't have, Krishna does have urine because he used to urinate. Yeah, why am I saying he doesn't? I just said he did. Okay. But that might depend which translation you look. I'm not finding it right now. What was that in reference to? I forgot, Kamini, what were we talking about? You expect me to remember what we were talking about 5 minutes ago? That's asking a lot of me. Which translation you look at? What was that relation to? Can't remember. I guess you're looking. Anandita. Unlike in the material world, when Krishna does seemingly bad things, his intent is good and the effect is good, if I've understood correctly. In the material world, our intent and the effect. Well, Krishna cannot have a bad intention. Okay, I have to stick my hand under my microphone and see more. Our intent and the effect are not good. Is this correct? Our intent can be good. The effect can be good if we're Krishna conscious, but it's not exactly like this. I mean, what you say is true, but we have to understand it within the context of who Krishna is. Krishna, can he actually do something bad? Is that possible? There's nothing bad in him. So even if so this would be a better way of explaining it, Nandita. Even if his intentions are bad, they're good. Krishna's going, he's going to kill Hiranyakashipu. Well, of course his intention is good. But then you could say, well, there wouldn't have been a Hiranyakashipu if he didn't want to fight. So he created this guy who had all kinds of bad intentions, gives him an excuse to kill him because no one will say, well, that was bad. But the point is, he can't have a bad intention. And you and I can have bad intentions, we can have good intentions. But Krishna can't. So, better way of saying is everything Krishna does is transcendental to the modes of nature. It is the personification of perfection, everything he does. So if he urinates on the floor, that's the perfection of urination. If he steals, that's the perfection of stealing. If he is lusty, so-called, after the gopis, that's the perfection of lust. And within that stealing, within that urination, within that embrace of the gopis, there is only love and bliss and eternity and knowledge. That's it. So if you understand Krishna's nature, then you understand is not even... Krishna only exists for love. So it's not like he can have a bad intention. He does this out of good intention. No, he is love personified. Then now Krishna Karshini is going to open up this discussion. I think that point, you can blame God for being... I blame God for being lusty because he's lusty. I'm just reflecting it. Krishna, with his moral behaviors, is making us difficulty to preach to non-devotees about Leela. How to explain that God, who's supposed to be an example of morality, is having externally in... It's amazing. My left hand cannot do this. It's crazy. I can't get it. Okay, I did it. The God who is supposed to be an example of morality is behaving externally in an immoral way. Well, point number one, we shouldn't be talking about this in public. Of course, now you're going to say, oh, but anybody, this video is going online and anybody can see it. Yeah, that's true. But in general, these things are not explained to the general public because they won't understand. So in the general public, you explain God, Vishnu, controller, creator, annihilator, maintainer, like that. If you have to explain it, we can explain it the way Prabhupada explained it. Everyone is Krishna's wife. That's one explanation. He's dancing with other men's wives. Everyone is God. Every woman is God's wife. So it's not. So they're dancing with his wives, not the other way around. That's one way of explaining it. And philosophically speaking, everything is an expansion of Krishna. So the very wives or gopis he's dancing with expanded from him. So in that sense, he's just dancing with his own energy. And that sounds interesting because we can't do that. We can't expand ourselves like I'm gonna expand myself into the most lovely woman that ever existed, and she'll be exactly the way I want her. Well, that's called Radharani. So Radharani is an expansion of Krishna. So Krishna is engaging with Radharani, but he's actually engaging with himself. I'll be dancing with myself tonight. So that's really what Krishna's doing. He's dancing with himself. This actually happened, Krishna Karshini. I don't know if this video is available, but like in the 70s or something, there's a video of Kalakanta Prabhu with a bunch of theologians or priest pastors, and they were laying into him. So your God has girlfriends, and he dances, and he steals other men's wives. And like Kalakanta was trying to explain it, and they were in a fog. They had no idea what he was. He's just like, they couldn't understand it. So it's true. And that's why the, what is it, the 9th offense? 10th, which offense? To explain the glories of the Lord to the faithless. Yeah, generally you don't. And as Prabhupada said, usually what I would say, I know this sounds funny, and I would like to explain it to you, but the scriptures say you have to read 9 cantos. You have to read 9 cantos of this book, which probably take you a year or so. You have to read 9 cantos of this book before you'd be able to understand this, because it's not what you think. And that's one explanation. And not everyone's going to like that explanation because it sounds like a cop-out. But you can say within the very books that describe this, what you're asking, it's described in the 10th canto. And each canto is, let's say, 1,000 pages. So you're about 10,000 pages of reading away from understanding this. And I grant this it's not what it sounds like, number one, believe me. And I would like to explain more, but actually you need to study this deeply, because it's the most esoteric part of our philosophy, and even practitioners of many years still have difficulty with it. That's one way to explain it and say, so, if you study our book, study our philosophy, you'll come to understand that you come to understand that everything in this world is a perversion of a higher reality, and within that reality there's no inebriety. And if a man is with another woman's wife, if God is with another woman's wife, there's a depth of love to that we've never experienced, and there's a reason he does it. And they are all enjoying it, and those men's wives are also encouraging it. Let me give you another example, and I don't think you could explain this to non-devotees, but you know that story, you all know this story. Krishna plays his flute to call the gopis to dance. Woo! It's time to dance. Time for rasa lila. He plays the 5th note, and when you hear that note, you start to swoon in ecstasy. And some of them could not go because their husbands wouldn't let them go. You're not going. They're holding on to their side. Get back here. Over my dead body you're going. And you might read that and think, those husbands are cruel. Or you might think, but this is Boma Vrindavan. Why would a husband in Boma Vrindavan block their wives from going with Krishna? Because it's all about Krishna. It's not about them. You're my wife and you have to serve me, and you didn't cook dinner, then I can't let you go because I'm hungry. It's not like that. But it can seem like that, right? So, just think about that. This is Boma Vrindavan, and the husbands are preventing their wives from going, not all, but some are preventing their wives from joining Rasa Lila. Think about that. That doesn't make sense, does it? But that's what it says in Bhagavatam. Their husbands prevented them. And you think, what kind of husband is that they would prevent their wives from going to Rasa Lila? And that's in Boma Vrindavan? What's up with these husbands? The explanation is that these gopis were not qualified, not completely purified yet. And their husbands, under the influence of Yoga Maya, prevented them. You think their husbands didn't want them to go? Of course they wanted them to go, but they weren't qualified. Their husbands prevented them. light bulbs going off in your head now, right? That was under the influence of Yoga Maya. Why? Because it said they gave up their body, they gave up their subtle body, they gave up the body that had any contamination left. And because they had this little contamination, they weren't qualified to enter the rasa dance. And because they weren't qualified by the influence of the internal potency, their husbands stopped them. And by stopping them, they gave up that last drop of whatever that drop was, of whatever it was that made them not yet qualified to enter the rasa dance, and they became purified. And then the next time Krishna played his flute, they went. And their husbands didn't stop them because they were pure. So that gives us a little glimpse into the nature of the spiritual world. There's nobody there that's like, you're not going to that dance. You're my wife. I'm not letting you go to that dance. You got that? You ain't going to dance with Krishna, okay? I'm your husband. You dance with me. It's not like that. It can't be like that. It's interesting, isn't it? You liked that, didn't you? Light bulbs, bing, bing, bing. The light bulbs going off in your head now. I can see the light coming through Facebook. It's amazing. You're lighting up my room. Mathura Ashtakam, it was referenced in Mathura Ashtakam. Oh, okay. Looking for the word for spit or for urine? Ankush. Are we qualified to approach Krishna? Sometimes I feel we should be only approaching spiritual master because of so many anarthas and nivrittis within us. Anartha nivritti means getting rid of the anarthas. I can tell you a story about this. Seymour. Oh, God. You see what I'm trying to do is hit the Seymour with my left hand, and it's not working. This is my 10th time. It takes me 10 hits. Being envious of Krishna. So, it's true, we approach Krishna through the spiritual master. In the Bhagavad Gita, okay, we approach Krishna through the spiritual master. If you want to anyway approach Radha and Krishna, like you go on the altar, first obeisances to the spiritual master. Before Gayatri, you should pay obeisances. Even before you read, pay obeisances. When you get up, when you go to bed, before you eat, everything, pay obeisances. But there's an interesting aspect to this. Because then one could say, well, I'm chanting Hare Krishna, so I pay obeisances to my guru, then I chant Hare Krishna. So if I'm not qualified to approach Krishna, so what's happening when I'm chanting? Am I chanting through my guru? And am I approaching him, or who am I approaching, how it works? It's explained in the Gita. Prabhupada said, yeah, you approach with your guru, but when you chant the holy name, you're directly in contact with Krishna. But it's through the mercy of your guru. And just like Prabhupada said, when you go to the spiritual world, I'll take your hand and I'll put it in Krishna's hand. So it's something like that, that you go through your guru, we go through Prabhupada. And not what you know, but who you know. Something like that. And then, like I always say, you get to the spiritual world and they're looking at you and they're kind of sizing you up, and you may not look like you're supposed to be there. And you ever been like at a party or an event or something, and they're like looking at you and like, sir, what are you doing here? Who are you? Because they don't recognize you. And there's the CEO of the company. And go, I'm with him. And they're like, okay, go right through this way. So it's something like that. They're looking at us like, what are you doing up here? And we turn and go, I'm with him. There's Prabhupada. I go, oh, okay. So it's something like that. I hope they don't say that when we go back to God. Like, who let you in? What are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here. But if they do say that, then you just say, well, I'm with Prabhupada. And they'll say, oh, okay. Come this way, sir. Something like that. Yeah, we're not qualified to approach Krishna directly, that's for sure. But you have Prabhupada, so that's all you need, Don't worry about it. You have Prabhupada. You have Prabhupada. And your guru will give you Prabhupada. And because we're connected with Prabhupada, we're good. Gitanjali says, thank you for clarifying certain specific things which could be misunderstood if we think the Western way or in a conditioned way. Yeah, we're conditioned souls, so we kind of get everything backwards by nature. And Krishna consciousness there's a lot of hoops to jump through to be a devotee, because things, they don't line up the way you would expect them to line up materially always. Sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. We're worshiping a plant. That's strange for people. Deities are very strange. Even chanting mantras for hours a day is strange. We dress in strange ways. But none of this is strange in a purified state of consciousness. It's just strange for the material consciousness. We saw Krishna Bhakti devotees, and all those so-called immoral things are there, but they're explained. It's all explained. So if we explain it, then we're okay. Bhakti Lata, Hare Krishna. Oh, it's Espanol. Hare Krishna. Anoche intente haciendo una pregunta. Can someone translate her question for me? Is someone out there that can translate it? And then we'll... No entiendo nada de español, lo siento. Hopefully someone can translate it for us. Christe, you can translate that, right? Translation to Bhakti Lata's comment. Last night I tried to ask a question in my dreams, and today found myself in Prabhupada's live class. Question. Krishna is controlling all of his energies. Is it that he also controls illusory Maya? Of course. Param Ishvara, Krishna is the supreme controller. If there's something Krishna can't control, that means that control is above him, and then he's no longer God. He has to resign. The day there's something more powerful than Krishna, he has to resign from being God, because by definition, God is the one who controls everything. So your question is reflecting the Christian perspective, like Satan is competing with God. So that's a misunderstanding of God, because by definition, God's the controller of everything. And so he created Maya and controls Maya and orders Maya, and she just acts according to his will, and she has a specific function, which is not in competition with him, but it's in service to him. It might appear sometimes in competition with him, but it's in service to him. Maya. Maya is serving Krishna. So, the day we find something more powerful than God, that thing or being or whatever it is that's more powerful then becomes God. Right? So if Satan is competing with God, that makes Satan more powerful than God, or equally powerful. Which means they don't understand the first thing about God, that he's the supreme controller. No one, you know this verse? Napchadikas nadrish there's no one equal and no one greater. That's the definition of God. So if you find anybody greater than Krishna, that makes him God. And then Krishna has to resign. He'll make an announcement. Sorry, I had to resign. We found someone greater than me. But so far we haven't found anybody. So he's still God. Always was and always will be. Okay, buenos. Okay, we got the translation. Is it also that he controls the illusory energy of Maya to test us? Yes. And even though we're in Maya, can we become Krishna conscious? Yes. If you want to. If you don't, like I said, it depends who you want to dance with. Can we become Krishna conscious? If you want to dance with Krishna, yeah. If you want to dance with Maya, no. Who do you want to dance with? Do, do, do. Krishna or Maya? Do, 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 do. Who you gonna dance with? That's what it's the best. I think it's the best analogy. Who do you want to dance with, Krishna or Maya? Because every time we sang in Maya, it was a choice to dance with Maya. Conscious or unconscious choice. It was a choice to dance with Maya. Who are you choosing to dance with? So we don't have Bhakti Lata's comment. Anyway, I think we answered. We are forever with Prabhupada and you. Thank you. We're all together. We are one. Last night, I tried to ask you a question. She tried to ask me a question in dreams. It's better to ask me live, right? Okay. Yeah. Oh, wow. Ask me a question or ask a question? Okay. What's the equivalent to hell and heaven in Krishna consciousness? Well, there's two answers, but I like the first answer best. So let's start with the first answer. There are verses in our scriptures that says things to this nature, that if you think like this, you see a devotee, for example, and you think, you're looking at the devotee from a material perspective. Oh, before he was a devotee, he was this. That makes him bad. You're seeing him materially. Or you see the deity and say, oh, it's just marble. It's not really a deity. If you see something spiritual from a material perspective, it's said you have a hellish mentality. It's your hellish. What does a hellish mentality mean? Well, we'll explain. One way to explain it is that you have a mind, to use maybe a modern phrase, you have a mind that was made in hell. Hellish mentality in this sense means it's offensive, it's material, it can't penetrate the spiritual. And that mentality will cause you to take birth in hellish situations. So this is one answer that the scriptures give, is you don't have to go to any physical location. You can live within a hellish mentality. You can live within hell in your mind and heart, which is, I think, the best answer for this. But as I said, if you have a hellish mentality, you will go to hell. What does hell mean? Well, according to the Vedas, there are different living conditions, even on this planet. Some are nicer, more heavenly. Beverly Hills, Bel Air, like that. That's the nice neighborhoods in your city. That's the heaven on earth. And then the poor neighborhoods where life is difficult, that's the hell, so to speak. So there is a bit of a hell and heaven, heavenly and hellish conditions on this planet. So it also refers to that. Karma. Your karma can be difficult. That's hellish, heavenly karma, hellish. And there are also planets where the heavenly is better than here and the hell is worse than here. Hellish. What do we say hellish like? Heavenly means less work or no work, more enjoyment, more beauty, longer life. Hellish means more work, shorter life, more disease, more trouble. So there are planets like that. The Earth is not the only place where humans reside or other entities reside. And those are planets within this material world. But if you're on a higher planet, you can go down to a lower. If you're on a lower, you can go higher. So heaven and hell is not eternal. And one thing I think which should make the most sense to all of us, or any sensible person who hasn't become blindly faithful to illogical thinking is that punishment is only given as a means to rectification. At least a loving person, a magnanimous person would not punish someone unless there was some inherent benefit. He wouldn't punish them just because he's angry. So the concept of hell eternally is an eternal punishment, which means once you're there, there's no rectification. And if there's no rectification, what's the point of being punished? That's one illogical point about eternal damnation. The second illogical point, which is to me the most illogical, like illogical on steroids. God is loving. Now, how could a loving person, and why would a loving person cause someone to suffer eternally without any redemptive benefit? That makes absolutely 108% no sense. Right? I'm going to put you in hell forever. Why? Because you deserve it. Because you didn't join the church across the street, you joined the church on the other side of the street. So for that sin, you deserve to burn in hell forever and suffer eternally. Okay. Oh, that makes sense, yeah. God's a merciful God. God's a loving God. And that makes sense? I don't know. Some things, I don't know. I just don't understand how that could make sense to people. But I guess it just shows when you have blind faith and you're fanatical, anything can make sense if you believe God. Oh, God said it, so it makes sense to you. But when you just extract it and look at it logically, that doesn't make any sense. So, suffering is for redemption. And so we suffer our karma or enjoy our karma now on a heavenly planet or hellish planet. What Christians call heaven is a spiritual world. We call it the spiritual world. Life is eternal with Krishna. But your mother-in-law is not going to be there, at least not in the same form, so don't worry about it. You might have questions. Because they say when you go, grandma will be there, your dog will be there, Fido will be there, your sister will be there. I think a lot of people don't want to go to heaven if, their grandmother's there, their mother-in-law's there. Maybe they don't like their grandmother and mother-in-law. No, when you get there, they'll be nice. Like what? You want to be 80 years old eternally? Grandmother? It's a material concept. We'll all be there, but these forms we have now have nothing to do with the forms we have there. So it's a sad, sad situation that we have religions that are so ignorant, and the masses of people are being misguided. And then we try to explain Krishna consciousness. Oh, you're all brainwashed. This is stupid. It's Kali Yuga, brains are on. I think one of the symptoms of Kali Yuga is people's brains are on backwards. Like when they went to the brain factory, the machines weren't working in Kali Yuga, so everybody got their brain on backwards. And those who were fortunate enough to get their brains screwed on right, then they can understand this. But I'm sure you've all felt this way, right? When you look at, we have this. This is so funny. They have these comedians interviewing people about Trump, and the people who are supporting Trump are saying very, very stupid things that they're so stupid they become funny, and it shows they're not thinking at all. It's hilariously funny, the things they say. They're completely ridiculous. So it shows that human beings have the capacity for their brains not to work. And especially in Kali Yuga, when it comes to spirituality, people are challenged. And Bhagavatam says that intelligence is challenged in Kali Yuga. And therefore it said, if you have intelligence, you'll take to the Sankirtan movement. Okay, I have a question from a Christe. This is a bit off the topic, but perhaps you would like... you would like to address the question you received in yesterday's Spanish-speaking class. The question was, we said we would address it. It was a question about bad leadership. Yeah, it's off the topic. Let me wait and see. Otherwise, we'll address it. Okay, there's no more questions. I'll address it. Off topic, but in my classes, we're famous for going off topic. But I think that's what makes it interesting. This came up. I had a class last night about love and trust. And I was saying in the class that our behavior will it cause people to trust us or cause people not to trust us. It's a fact that due to poor leadership, we have lost many devotees. I have also heard other spiritual teachers say that we have what we deserve. That makes an impression that we must surrender to our luck and tolerate if we want to stay in the movement. How is this useful to make us grow? I think they mean, like, if you find a guru, if you have a guru that falls down, then it's like you get what you deserve. I always found that statement to be true outside of ISKCON because there are a lot of gurus who really exist to get your money and other things from you. Sometimes, if you're a woman, to get your body. Yeah, and so if you're not really serious about spiritual life, you may, you may end up with a guru like that who's is actually there to cheat you. So disciples want to be cheated, and gurus want to cheat disciples, and they meet one another, and they have, and they both, as Isopanishad says, they both go to hell. He goes to hell for misguiding, and he or she goes to hell for being misguided. When we bring it into the circles of ISKCON, and someone says, you get what you deserve, and I think they mean, well, you got a guru who wasn't qualified, or who was but fell down later, so it's due to your lack of Krishna consciousness. I always found something reprehensible in that. Because it's not the disciples' fault. When they chose that guru was in good standing. So the guru later fell. It's not the disciples' fault. You could say, oh, they committed sins, and therefore he fell. Even if you say that, not every disciple committed sins causing the guru to fall. What I think is a better explanation in this regard, if a guru falls, and he was once bona fide, which means you found a real guru, so you weren't lacking, you made the right choice, is that you chose Prabhupada. And so how could anybody say, what did you say, get what you deserve? Yeah, I chose Prabhupada. That must mean I'm sincere. You came to ISKCON, you read Prabhupada's book, so your first guru and your Siksha guru and your Parma guru is Srila Prabhupada. So even if your guru left, you have Prabhupada, which means you're the most fortunate, most intelligent, and so forth. So if we say you get what you deserve, then you got Prabhupada, so you must be sincere. I think the implication is that if your guru falls, you weren't sincere. And I think that is sometimes maybe also said by devotees outside of ISKCON who believe their gurus are superior or more pure. And so when an ISKCON guru falls, because outside of ISKCON, it's pretty rare that a guru would fall. So we have more Western gurus and younger devotees. They have, lineage, and most of their gurus were raised as Vaishnavas. So when they look at us, they say, well, if your guru falls, it must be because you were insincere and you chose the wrong guru. But you came to Prabhupada. So, and the other thing is that even if your guru did fall, you can take shelter of so many other gurus, and many devotees do that. So they're fortunate that they have shelter of a Siksha guru. So I find that statement to be, maybe it has in some remote sense philosophical validity, but in terms of, it seems to lack heart in my estimation. My humble or not so humble estimation, seems to lack a lot of sensitivity and heart, because when a guru has trouble, it's a time when devotees need support, they need help. They don't need to be told, well, actually, you're just insincere, so you ended up with a guru who's not so qualified. Thanks, Prabhu, that makes me feel really good. What do we say? Well, let's pray for your guru and take shelter of Prabhupada, and there are other seniors that you can take shelter of if you want. That's what we say. So that statement, as I said, it certainly applies if one finds a guru who directs them to some bogus process. Yeah, well, I guess you weren't sincere and you need to become more sincere, so you'll find the right guru. That's true. You get what you deserve. But when you come to Prabhupada, that doesn't apply anymore because you've got the Jagat Guru, your Parama Guru, your Siksha Guru is Srila Prabhupada. So that's what I think. Hare Krishna Bhakti Vinod, all the way from Scotland. Christe says, I love when Prabhupada said, yes, we are washing the brain because it is very dirty. That's the response I usually give regarding accusations we are brainwashed. The other thing Prabhupada said, well, if we're going to brainwash them, first they need a brain to wash. Sometimes he would say how people think, and it would demonstrate that it didn't seem like they had a brain if they were thinking that way. So sometimes he would joke, that brainwashing is almost a compliment, because at least you have a brain. But brainwashing is also the meaning of Cheto Dharpana Marjanam, or cleansing the heart. And in Sanskrit, Cheta, it means consciousness, it means heart, it also means the mind. So Cheto Dharpana Marjanam could mean brainwashing. Hey, Cheto, so here's a new t-shirt. Cheto Dharpana Marjanam, brainwashing the heart. Now how can you brainwash the heart? It doesn't work. We say cleansing the heart. Cheto Dharpana Marjanam, brainwashing. Cheto Dharpana Marjanam, we are being brainwashed. That's it. Write that down. That's another one. 108 t-shirts. Cheto Dharpana Marjanam, we are being brainwashed. Can you somebody write that down and send it to me? I'll add it to the list. The unending list. Okay. They shouldn't be called guru anymore. Con guru would be better. Real guru, never false guru. Well, the Shastra says something interesting about this. And what's also interesting is that not Shastra, it's not Shastra, it's commentaries written by acharyas about what to do when a guru falls, which obviously means that gurus have fallen. Otherwise, why would they be writing about it? So it says you should talk to your guru, you should pray for your guru, say, Guru Maharaj, wake up, snap out of it. We need you, we love you, please. So it said you should wait some time, pray, talk to him, wait for him. But if he's helplessly fallen, like he doesn't snap out of it, then you should take shelter of another guru, at least a Siksha guru, because he's no longer competent to guide you. That's what Shastra says. So if they snap out of it, if it was a temporary lapse and their life doesn't reflect any further contamination, then everything will work itself out. Oh, yeah. The gurus outside of ISKCON that fall very badly are probably, I was thinking of Indians, like people born into Gaudiya traditions. That's probably mostly Western, right, Jyotirmai? Yeah. Thank you for the clarification. Brainwash. Cheto Dharpana. This is like, and people say, are you brainwashed? Yes. Yeah. Is this a brainwashing cult? Yes. And they're shocked and said, our brains need to be washed. In the early days of Prabhupada was on a radio show. Some lady, very envious, I don't know why, probably a Christian. She said, Prabhupada said, how did you come? He was asked, I came on a freight ship. I got free passage. So the lady said, so you're a freeloader? Prabhupada said, yes. He didn't know that was, apparently he didn't know that was like a derogatory statement. So you're a freeloader. Yes, I got free passage. I was freeloader. So, but sometimes seriously, Prabhupada, yes, we are brainwashing. Your brain needs to be washed. We are being brainwashed. Okay, that's the name of today's class. Cheto Darbana Marjanam. We are being brainwashed. Why not? Okay, it's 9:30. Time is up. Time flies when you're having fun. Okay, so today in 2.5 hours, if you'd like to come, we chant japa together. And it's growing a little bit. We did this initially for the devotees in Hawaii, which is 6 a.m. their time. And we're going to start doing this Monday, Wednesday, and Friday now. And the reason we're doing it Monday, Wednesday, and Friday is because I can adjust my schedule generally. Not always, but generally I can adjust my schedule. So instead of chanting at this time, I can chant at that time. And it's so nice because here I am alone. I rarely even go off my property. And when I get up and chant in the morning, I usually get up before everyone. So I'm doing a lot of chanting alone. And last week when we were chanting, I was thinking, well, this is so nice. There was about 15 or 20 of us chanting. I said, this is really like the first time I'm chanting in a group since I left India. So it's quite nice if you want to join. So that's 2.5 hours, 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And we're going to try to do it Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I know it's not the best time for everyone. It's evening for some of you, and it's noon for some of you. It's not when you chant. So I just arranged my schedule so I would chant. Lately I've been chanting at different times of the day, and I've been chanting a lot at night. It's been beautiful. Chanting before you go to bed is quite nice. So I've been doing a lot of that also. So the plan is this Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, but I have to check my calendar because I may have other events at those times. I told them I could do it and I wouldn't book anything at those times, but I'm not always, I have to check. So, but at least today, and then we will announce at today's session and on Facebook. And the other days, it may, from week to week, it may vary, maybe Tuesdays, Thursday, it depends, maybe Monday, Tuesday, Friday. It will depend if some things come up and I can't change timing. Because I'm doing classes in different places, and sometimes 12, sometimes we could do it at 1, the class. Sometimes 12 works better. So we'll let you know. Okay. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Hari Hari Bo. Hari Hari Bo.